Think you know Judi Dench? Think again. We know the national treasure, the woman of steel who played M, the heart of British cinema for over 6 decades. We see her as unshakable, a pillar of our cultural landscape, as constant and dependable as a cup of tea. But what happens when the pillar trembles? Recently, a story emerged from the set of Loose Women that sent shockwaves through the nation. An alleged heated altercation, a fiery exchange with presenter Denise Welch, and the unthinkable, Dame Judi Dench reportedly walking off set. Now, if your first thought is not our Judi, you're not alone. But what if I told you this wasn't a moment of weakness, but one of immense strength? What if this wasn't a scandal, but a lesson for every single one of us, especially those of us who've been told it's time to slow down, to be quiet, to make way? This is not the story of a star having a tantrum. This is the story of a woman who remembered her power. And by the end of this, you might just remember yours. The spark, beyond the headlines. Let's set the scene, shall we? The Loose Women studio. Bright lights, buzzing audience, the familiar banter. It's a British institution, much like Judi herself. The topic that day? We don't know the exact details, but the whispers point to something deeply personal. Perhaps it was about aging in the public eye. Perhaps it was about the pressure to always be the national treasure, to never put a foot wrong. Denise Welch, a formidable presenter in her own right, is known for her direct, no-holds-barred style. It's what makes the show tick. But imagine being Judi Dench. At 89 years old, you've earned your stripes. You've navigated the loss of a beloved husband, you're battling failing eyesight, and yet you're still working, still creating, still saying yes to life. And then a question crosses a line. A comment feels less like an interview and more like an interrogation. It's not the words themselves, perhaps, but the tone, the implication, the feeling of being cornered, of being reduced to a headline rather than honored as a human being. We've all been there, haven't we? Maybe not on national television, but in a family gathering or a meeting at work or over coffee with a friend who just doesn't seem to listen. That moment when you feel your spirit being sanded down, your experience dismissed. For most of us, we bite our tongue. We smile politely. We are, after all, British. But Judi Dench did not. The reports say there was a firm, measured response, a clapback, if you will, a defense of her truth. And when the energy in the room didn't shift, when the conversation became untenable, she made a choice. She stood up and she walked. The gasps in the studio were reportedly audible, but I want you to imagine the sound wasn't gasps of shock, but a collective intake of breath, of awe. Because what we witnessed, my friends, was not a collapse. It was a declaration. And that declaration leads us to a far more fascinating question than what was said. It leads us to the very core of Judi Dench's incredible life. A core forged not in the glamour of Hollywood, but in the most unexpected of places, a place of profound silence and even greater strength. The wellspring of resilience, the thing you never knew about Judi. To understand the power of that walk-off, we have to travel back, not to the Bond sets or the Oscar ceremonies, but to a challenge so profound it threatened to end her career before it had even properly begun. And it's a challenge that will resonate deeply with many of you watching. In her late 20s, at the peak of her rising fame with the Royal Shakespeare Company, Judi Dench began to lose her voice. Not metaphorically, Literally, a vocal node, a singer's and actor's worst nightmare. The doctors were blunt. She needed complete silence. Not for a week, not a month, for 18 months. Imagine that. An actress, an instrument of voice and expression, ordered into utter silence. No rehearsals, no performances, no casual conversation. She carried a small slate around with her, writing notes to communicate. Her world, which was built on sound, became a silent movie. Now, most people would have crumbled. Most would have seen it as a full stop. But Judi Dench? She saw it as a semicolon, a pause. In that enforced silence, something miraculous happened. She learned to listen, not just to hear, but to truly listen. She watched people's body language, their micro-expressions, the stories their eyes told without a single word being spoken. She has said that this period of silence was the greatest acting lesson she ever received. It taught her the power of stillness, the thunderous impact of a raised eyebrow, the profound story a trembling hand can tell. She was building a new kind of strength, a resilient, quiet power that didn't need to shout to be heard. So when you see that clip, if it ever emerges, of her on Loose Women, don't just watch her mouth, watch her eyes, watch her posture. That isn't the reactive anger of a diva. That is the measured, deeply intelligent response of a woman who knows the weight of silence and who has therefore chosen her moments to speak with the precision of a master craftswoman. She wasn't losing her voice on that show. She was using it with the same power she discovered all those years ago when it was almost taken from her. And that hard-won power didn't just make her a better actress. It prepared her for a role that would change her life forever and redefine strength for a whole new generation. A role that began with a single, life-altering call. The crowning. When M stole the throne. 1995, the world of James Bond was, let's be honest, a boys' club. A world of gadgets, fast cars, and Bond girls. The head of MI6 was a man, always, a stuffy, paternal figure behind a big desk. Then, the phone rang for Judi Dench. The offer? To play M. Now, think about this. She was 61 years old, an age when many actresses find the good roles drying up. She was known for Shakespeare, for period dramas, for a fine romance. She was not an obvious choice for a blockbuster spy franchise. But she said yes. And with that one blistering speech, she didn't just play a part, she shattered a mold. She walked onto that set, a woman in her 60s, and faced down the handsome, young, charismatic James Bond, and told him and the world that the rules had changed. She wasn't there to be a mother figure. She was the boss. She was smarter, tougher, and more in control than anyone in the room. She gave us a new archetype, that a woman's power doesn't fade with age. It crystallizes. It becomes more potent, more formidable. She showed us that you can command a room not with a shout, but with a whisper. You can wield authority not with physical force, but with intellectual and moral certainty. She became the spine of the entire franchise. And in doing so, she sent a message to every woman watching. Your time is not over. In many ways, it is just beginning. So when you see the headlines about the Loose Women incident, see it through this lens. This is not Judi Dench, fragile old lady. This is M making a tactical decision. This is a woman who has been running MI6 in her spare time for decades. She is more than capable of handling a tense television interview or choosing to end it on her own terms. But this immense public strength, this persona of M, has always been underpinned by a profound and very private source of power. A love story so deep, so enduring, that it has been the anchor through every storm and the true secret to her legendary resilience. The anchor, the great love behind the legend. To truly understand Judi Dench's strength, we must speak of love, specifically her 28-year marriage to the actor Michael Williams. It wasn't a flashy Hollywood romance. It was a quiet, deeply rooted, steadfast partnership. He was her best friend, her greatest critic, her unwavering supporter. She has often said that her favorite sound was the key of the front door turning, signaling Michael was home. In a world of glamour and pretense, he was her reality, her home.